Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Shaun, and this is Shaun Spins. We got a great show today. I'm glad everyone can join us today. Let's get started.
Looks like you found a replacement. Well, I'm back. Interesting episode for today. Before we get started today, I wanted to talk about something. I kept hearing this term VCLT. Before I was getting confused on what VC meant. Now I'm hearing VCLT. Finally figured it out. It was Vinyl Community Love Train. And it's when someone mails you a record. I don't know, in my world it's always just been, I sent you a record. The term though, I was like, what's VCLT? Sound like an old video game for a computer from the 80s. I got that VCLT. So, I didn't want to feel left out, so I came up with my own term for the vinyl community, for sharing. Here it is. Vinyl Community Rewards, otherwise known as VCR. What?
You can't use that.
What are you talking about?
Already a thing.
What the? Well, my producer just reminded me of VCR plays VHS tapes. There goes the Vinyl Community Rewards program. Let's start the show. I tell you, I'm having some week between the Vinyl Community Rewards program not working out and that commercial I got fired from.
Called to check my zip code.
I called to eliminate copays.
I called to save money.
Yeah, I called by mistake. I'm sorry about that. It won't happen again.
I called to get my dental work covered.
I called to get money added to my Social Security check.
So what are we doing for episode 19? What?
All I know is that there were rumors he
Sounds
was
like
into field hockey players.
We're reviewing
There were rumors.
Pixies.
So I applied,
album.
basically.
He was gone the next
went off
day.
the
Start the review.
It's like he was gone. They just like it was like so hush hush. They were so quiet about it, and then the next thing you know.
The record for episode 19 of Shaun Spins is the Pixies' Trompe le Monde. One of my favorites, and it's actually the first album I ever had from the Pixies. Got it originally in 1991 as a CD long box. The issue we're going to be reviewing today is the anniversary on green mint vinyl. First thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the band. Let's go to the picture of the band. Thank you. The Pixies are, or were, Black Francis, vocals and guitar, Joey on guitar, lead guitar extraordinaire, David on drums, sometimes vocal, Kim on bass, sometimes vocals also. Now, an interesting thing about the Pixies, growing up, I never really knew what they looked like. The albums had images and artwork from Vaughan Oliver's team that didn't have much to do with the band. In my world, a name like Black Francis, I always thought he was going to look like Glenn Danzig. And it took me forever to learn what the band looked like. One of the first times I ever saw the band was on the music video for Head On, which is from this album. And that's a cover of the Jesus and Mary Chain. And I only saw the video, I think, once or twice. And the first time I saw the video was just in passing in my friend's house. I was walking through a room and they had cable on and I saw it and I've never seen a Pixies video. Let's go to the proof. So here is that video for Head On, the cover that the Pixies did. And this is my first time that I ever got to see the Pixies 30 years ago. I also thought the band was British since they were signed to 4AD Records. I found out later that they were not British. It's pretty amazing to think about how difficult at this time it might have been to know what a band looked like. Nowadays, social media and photographs on a phone, it's so different. I do like how 4AD and Vaughan Oliver's team did artwork, put more emphasis on the music, not what the musicians look like. Let's get into the album now. So let's start with my original CD from 1991. And I got this, like I said, originally the long box. I can't remember if it came in a green CD case or I changed that afterwards. I think I might have changed it afterwards. I can't remember. First thing I want to do is say, well, first off, this album is amazing. Second off, I want to talk about the artwork first. I love Vaughan Oliver's team, and it was a big part of me becoming an artist. Like, this was a big inspiration on me, is Vaughan Oliver and the team of artists that work with Vaughan Oliver in Envelope 23 and V23 Studios. The artwork from the long box, I actually took it and put it on my school folders. Now, it took me a long time to understand what these objects were in the artwork. I didn't know. And when I was in college, I had the CD sitting on my desk, and a professor of mine, an art professor that was from England, comes up to me and says, "Oh, the artist must have went to the butcher." And I went to the butcher? What are you talking about? And he goes, "Oh, those are cow eyes." I never knew. So here they are, like, pretending like walking out from a stage. As I said, 4AD and Vaughan Oliver, there's not many images of bands like other albums I have from 4AD. Vaughan Oliver goes at it completely different. It's a very artistic statement. Stephen does the drawings. Simon does the photographs in this release. There's the Eiffel Tower on the back of the CD book. Inside you have lyrics, overlays of drawings, and some photographs. It's beautiful. Page after page is beautiful. Now, this album was produced by Gil Norton, who later on I knew from doing the second Foo Fighters album. So that's the CD. One of the things I thought about with this CD is I got a lot of hate mail on my last video because I've been speaking out about bullies online and things like that. So people were writing some pretty rude things to me. And I wonder with this album, some of those individuals that might have had some very hateful things to say to me or hateful things in their heart, I wonder if they have this album and didn't realize that one of the artists that worked on this is transgender. I bet you that'll get some people thinking that might have some hate in their heart. And they might have been like, that's my favorite artwork. And, there's no place for hate and there's not enough time. Be nice to each other. So here is the record. Records are like too big to hold on the screen. I can go like this and cover me. Here's the back. I took the sticker and put it here because the sticker reminded me of the CD. A little bit different on the back, like the layout of some of the logos and things like that, like the Pixies logo moved. Also, the UPC code on the CD was covering the tassel of the curtains, which I never knew was there. So a little different. Also, different thing on the artwork is the CD has a little bit more, less contrast than the record. Record, you can see contrast in there. Now, here's the thing that got me about the record. This is all the art that was included. And I was like, well, where's the rest of it, like the book had? I mean, it still has the lyrics and stuff, but the way the book did it, I liked it a lot better. And I wondered if this is what the original vinyl looked like, if one could find one. I imagine they pressed them in England at the time, just not here. We got the CDs more, and it just was kind of depressing to me because how much I like Vaughan Oliver's studio. Now, the record is that green. There's that rocket ship from the CD, and then the front cover is reprinted on the other side. Album is amazing. My first time listening to it, it just is great. I remember just being so excited by it. To me, it kind of has a science fiction feel to it, and it's very different than the other Pixies albums. Now, the other Pixies stuff, this was the first time I ever had a Pixies thing. It was the first thing I ever bought in 1991, but I had other stuff on on cassette that a friend made for me. Look at me, I'm thinking a friend made a CD for me in 1991. I don't think so. It was on cassette. So I had aspects of the first album, second, third, but this was the first one I bought. Big difference. A little bit different is Steve Albini's not producing it, and I love things Steve Albini produces, but this is a little bit more different sound to it, and it's a little bit, I don't want to say faster, but it has more of a rock feel to it. Certain songs go back to earlier stuff, but majority of it is very fast. Almost punk rock, one would say. My favorite song on it is Trompe le Monde. I love that song, and that's the song it starts off with. And a lot of people know Planet of Sound. A lot of people know UMass. I'm not a big fan of the song UMass on this album. Doesn't feel like it really fits in. Towards the end of the album, it starts slowing down and it gets a different feel, but it still has this beautiful feel to it. And to me, Joey Santiago, big inspiration on guitar playing for me. And this album, oh yeah. The other album's a little different. This one, it just takes off, like I said, an outer space kind of feel. So, just like the CD, you start doing this to flip through to see what tracks are tracks. And in college, they asked us to redo a design for like an album, and I did the song Subculture, and that was fun. Oh man, it just goes on and on. Lovely Day, beautiful song, beautiful song. Oh, Space I Believe In, the part where he sings, now I'm gonna sing the Perry Mason theme. So I'll tell you, but besides UMass, I also feel like Head On doesn't really belong. I like the Jesus and Mary Chain, yet not necessarily that song. It's great stuff. I really, really recommend this album. If you're first getting into the Pixies, you might prefer their earlier stuff. Kind of has a closer sound to what independent music sounds like today. This album, though, it's special. And it makes me wonder what the band would have been like if they kept going. You know, the band pretty much broke up after this, and the Breeders kept going with Kim Deal. And Black Francis started Frank Black. And later on, they came back together with Kim Deal in the band, and then she left again. Yeah, this is the end of like the first incarnation of the band. As I said, it's a great album. I was a little shocked they did an anniversary edition of it because I have not met many people in my life that like this album or speak about it. And I think maybe because they just never got it. Most people that know the Pixies, they think of the first album like Where Is My Mind and Gigantic. And you don't really ever hear anybody mention this album or a song from this album, but it's a great album. And it's great. If this album came out today, people would honestly believe it's a brand new album. I think it faded away when it came out in 1991 because so many bands came out at that time that were brand new that took off. You know, Soundgarden. The Chili Peppers had been around for a while, but they really took off that year. Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. You know, you get these bands, you know, Tad, L7, these bands that were all starting to take off at that time. Even Mudhoney, you know, the bands that had been around a couple years, but then took off after that. You know, all the Seattle bands like Mudhoney and Tad got signed to major labels because of Nirvana and so on and so on. So the Pixies kind of faded away. And it's interesting to me because similar to REM, they've been around for a while, and REM kept going in the 90s, and I really wonder what would have happened with the Pixies. Like, what would their sound been like? big inspiration to a lot of bands too with their sound, that loud, quiet, and that sound. Big inspiration. If you get a chance, give it a listen. I will say this though. I didn't hear much of a difference between the CD and the record. Not really. I think I mostly got it just because of my love of the band and Vaughan Oliver's design studio. But they sound very similar to me. Didn't hear much of a difference at all. So even getting the CD, you probably pick it up used for a couple dollars. It's worth it. I'll leave you with one more thing. I got to see the Breeders a couple years ago, and they played one of my favorite songs and put a little something together. Yet, until next time, hope everybody's safe and well, and be nice to each other.